kind of shit. Or well, it's alright, considering it's Season 4 just worse. There is, however, one thing that is amazing about this season, and that is that there is still more than a month left to fix this piece of shit. So this is my Season 5 feedback, along with adding a bit of Season 4 feedback while we're at it. Alright, so apart from everything being bugged on the Season 5 PTR, why do I think it's kind of dog shit? Well damn, let's start with the new endgame, the Infernal Hordes. Yep, you're looking at it. I guess the odd seasonal team is back at it again, because as it currently stands, I don't see how anyone could enjoy this piece of shit. It's basically the same as arenas in Last Epoch, which coincidentally was the most hated feature of the game. So, yeah, let's try to salvage what we can. And we're starting off with the biggest piece of shit in here, and that is the timer. Yes, it's time gated, so you're basically stuck in here for 10 minutes. I know that player retention time gives Bobby Kotick a massive hard-on, but he's gone now, and you can stop doing this to us now. So you're basically standing here and waiting for the timer to run out. On top of that, the layout is fixed. Anyone else getting Gauntlet flashbacks? Yeah, that turned out great. Okay, so what's the solution? Well, damn, my man, remove the timer, obviously. The timer should be the maximum time you should be able to stay in here, such as the pit, not a forced timer you need to wait for. It's just awful. The second piece of shit being that it's boring being stuck in here in the first place, but that's just the way it is, since Blizz has already programmed it into the game. The third being these. You have a few options to choose from, basically granting you some kind of buff, along with buffing your enemies. Some of these are just fucking stupid. For example, you can gain movement speed. Where are you supposed to run off to, I may ask? Well, damn, my man, back to Season 4, I reckon. You're at the same time buffing your enemy's damage, and you're going to run faster. And finally, the only piece of shit that could possibly compete against the timer. The rewards. You're in here for 10 minutes or whatever, and then you're greeted by one legendary, pretty much. I mean, come on. I'd also like to mention that these compasses that you need to begin an Infernal Horde are the exact same compasses, yet they don't stack for some reason. And what does this mean? Well, after running Hell Tides, I kept getting my bags full of these assholes and had to keep running to the occultist to salvage them. Make them stack. Thank you. Alright, so that's the new endgame. Hopefully the raids coming in the expansion will be good, because this sucked ass. Next up are the pit changes. Wait, what? Pit changes again? Yeah. Some are probably just bugs, however, that I sent over to the developers, aka the devs in China that Blizz is paying to make the game. So let's focus on what actually changed, and that is the boss fight. In a pit run, you're spending half of the time killing the boss. That's just a fact, and you're most likely spending even more time than that. So here's what they did to fix that. They added a stacking debuff from the boss that one-shots you if you get hit by any of the boss mechanics. Yep, that's right. The same debuff that the tormented bosses put on you. If this debuff stays in the game, I just don't see myself pushing the pit ever again. Being forced to dodge every mechanic as a melee class for up to 10 minutes is just pure pain. Blizz already nerfed the boss damage to the point where the one-shots were avoidable and pit runs felt good. And now they brought the one-shots back yet again. Please, man, just remove this. And while you're at it, it's time to nerf the boss health. 2/3 fighting regular packs of enemies, and 1/3 fighting the boss should be the aim for the highest of pit-pushing builds, not the other way around. Adding a stacking debuff on top of this will make the pit unplayable when you're trying to push. Also, while we're on the topic of the pit, let's remove or nerf the reduced material cost when you're playing in a group, shall we? There's currently no incentive at all to play in a group. If I could boost some shit newbies or play with some of my amazing viewers, then that would be awesome. As we're talking about group play, let's see the changes to the Hell Tides. Blizz nerfed the Baneful Heart drop rate to the absolute gutter. I was getting a handful of them per Helltide run, if even that, meaning that Blood Maiden farming is dead. And what is the reasoning behind this? I don't know, man. I guess they don't want us to keep summoning the boss. But the last time I checked, Wait 1 sec, just need to double check. Yep, it's indeed a fucking MMO. Not completely, but to some extent. While I do agree killing the boss over and over is repetitive, just buff the regular enemies or whatever to incentivize people to blast some other stuff as well. For example, the events. There are also 2 major issues with the Hell Tides in Season 5. The most important one is that it's kind of boring. The Profane Mind Cage was just insanely goated, spitting out enemies all over the place and granting us somewhat of a challenge. So the solution? Bring it back, please, and let it stack, so the best of builds can get a challenge as well. Currently, enemies are just dying from me looking at them, which is giving me pre-Season 4 vibes. And the second reason being the loss of seasonal elixirs. The Holy Bolt and Momentum elixirs was insane for Helltide farming, and I loved them. Definitely make sure to keep these as the new season launches. They were insanely fun. I definitely think that the nerfs to the Holy Bolt elixirs turned out pretty damn good, making it an excellent speed farming elixir, but not a must-have for pit pushing. Alright, and next up is the balancing. Let's cover the new items. Adam Jackson must have been on vacation as Blizz launched the new items because some of them are completely build-defining for every build in the game. Namely, the new General Helmet, Amulet, and one-handed sword. Adam explicitly stated that there should not be items that are a must-have for every build. And well, these are. I don't really see the current values of these making it into the base game because they're too heckin' good. And that's fine. Just nerf that shit. What is a problem, however, is that I believe builds have been tuned down to accommodate for these insane items. Let's take Bash, for example. Blizz gutted the Bash Cleave Tempers by 5. At the same time, these new items were added, making the build equally as strong, if not stronger. And if I ask you, my beautiful viewer, what do you think will happen to these builds as the new season launches? Yeah, see you in the fucking trash along with all the sorcerer builds, I guess. There are, however, a few of them that are insanely fun. As I'm a brain-dead shit-smelling barb enjoyer, I obviously enjoyed the Third Blade, for example. This is a build-defining item, but it's not broken. It simply opens up new playstyles. I like this a lot. Clap, clap. Another dogshit change when it comes to the balance, however, are to the paragon nodes and glyphs. While I do understand that capping the damage on glyphs and nodes make balancing easier, it simply makes build more boring. This is happening to all classes, but let's take the Barb for example. Previously, the Blood Rage node was capped to 30%. Now, Hemorrhage is capped at 45%. Alright, so that should open up new playstyles, right? That doesn't utilize these as much. Not really, you're just making sure to get everything capped. Playing different builds becomes all about solving different caps. Using bleeds as an example, this means we need 30% for Blood Rage, 45% for Hemorrhage, cap the resistances, and cap the armor. While we previously had the option to stack different multipliers as efficiently as possible, we're now just capping shit out and leaving them. So let me give you another brain-dead barb enjoyer example. The entirety of Season 4 has been all about maxing out the Gushing Wounds passive, making calculations and testing of the optimal ratio between crit damage for this passive along with vulnerable damage to stack the Hemorrhage node. A build maker's wet dream. And what is happening in Season 5? Well, damn my man, cap out Hemorrhage and then stack all crit is what is going to happen. Boring as shit. Do this to every node, and you'll basically have the same build running around with every setup. I don't know, my man, I just think it's fucking boring. Let me know what you think. Alright, so that's a bit about the balance coming in Season 5. So what about the balance between all the different classes? Well, other than what I just mentioned, let me summarize it for you. Flay was the best build in Diablo 4, and it got buffed. Yeah. Other than that, Rogues are cooking hard. Barbs are somewhat cooking, but will get shit on when the new uniques are nerfed. Necros are cooking with Bone Spirit, but other than that, they're pretty shit. Minions got nerfed for some reason, no clue why. Druids were shit, and now they're even shittier since their Thunderstruck nodes was capped. And Sorks are shit because they're sorcerers, I guess. Alright, and what's the solution then? Well, the most obvious one is to buff the sorcerer and druids. And I don't mean a 10% buff to rabies or 5% charging bolt buff. I'm talking about a 20x buff to some of the spells here because they're so insanely underwhelming. It's time to make druids great again. Sorcerers can remain shit though. I don't really care. So what should the baseline of classes be? Well, I believe that Rogue and Necro are currently the most balanced classes. The Barb should be brought down slightly, but definitely not 5x when they nerf the new items, and please, for the love of God, stop capping everything in the game, because it's just plain boring and bad game design. And nerf Flay, it's obviously insanely broken, and the buffs that Flay keeps getting is weird to say the least. Okay, that's the balance. Next up is some PTR feedback. First being, you're not going to get any meaningful feedback when you time get every activity. And what in the hell do I mean by this? Well, the codex and tempering manuals were not unlocked as you arrived on the PTR. On top of that, you didn't receive any of the new uniques except the shitty ones. The only way to farm these new uniques reliably was to run whispers, meaning you would have to run 100 whispers if you wanted to test out all the new uniques unless you're a streamer that got all of the items handed to you. This is just brain dead and means that you will only be getting feedback from German streamers and wherever the hell Woody Joe is from. And perhaps the bald guy in a hoodie. I'm simply not going to run 100 whispers just to test out all the new uniques. It ain't happening, my bro. On top of that, you also need to grind hard just to get materials for some reason. I doubt people will be running the pit just to upgrade the new items. And what's bad with that, you ask? Well, you're not going to get any meaningful balance feedback unless people try out the new items when they're actually masterworked and in the end game. Well, damn. Rant is over. Back to trying out some shitty druid builds, I guess. Can't wait to get back to Season 4 LMRO.